So let's talk a little bit more about the Indians, and we head into the All-Star break with an All-Star reporter that covers the Cleveland Indians for 92.3 The Fan. He is TJ Zuppe. TJ, great to see you.
Pleasure to be here.
All right, we'll talk about Kipnis in a second. I want to talk about this starting pitching. Again, Corey Kluber today. You look at his record, he's 4-10, but every time he goes out there, he gives you 7, 8 innings. Guy doesn't hardly walk anybody, doesn't give up a lot of runs. What is this team going to have to do for the starting pitching in the second half?
Well, you need some more run support. Certainly for Kluber, that would be a great place to start. And that's why I laugh when people reference what a pitcher's win-loss total is. All that's telling you is how lucky they are, maybe how much support that they get. And for Kluber, he hasn't got a lot of support this year. Entered today with the second lowest run support in the majors. And this is a guy that if you actually look outside that win-loss record, which we should just throw away, you see a guy that's been very good in earned run average and even better in some of the periphery stats, strikeouts, all those things that he can control. He's been every bit as good as the Cy Young Award winner he was last year. He's given you length. He continues to go out and give you a chance every time out. There's really nothing more he could do in his power to go out and try to win games.
All right, so let's go back and look at the other starters on this, and especially Danny Salazar. A guy that starts the season in Columbus, and now you look at his win-loss record, now you're feeling pretty good about him.
Yeah, and he, like a lot of these pitchers here, it seems like they've kind of grown into their place in the rotation. Danny is a guy that had his issues in spring training, certainly looked like maybe he was going to take a step back this year, and through some hard work and, of course, an opportunity, he's come up and pitched really well here for Cleveland. And he, like Bauer and Carrasco, has really fortified that top 4 in that rotation. I know you throw Cody Anderson in there, too, for what he's done. But being able to stabilize that rotation, now every night you feel like you have a chance to win. Unfortunately, it's falling back on that offense to try to give you some runs, and it's just not come consistently enough to help this team get above the 500 mark.
TJ, it's so weird to look at this team because you look at the starting rotation like, this team could go to the playoffs,
sure.
And I'd be scared of the Indians in the playoffs if they just get a little bit of offense.
And that's probably what makes this team so hard to figure out, is because they have playoff-type starting pitching. That's how good their starters have been. You can maybe even make a case that they're World Series caliber starting pitching now that you've added a guy in Cody Anderson who's given you some pretty good efforts there out of the 5th spot. But again, those pitchers can only control so much. Once the ball leaves their hand, that's all they control. And the offense has got to be able to come through for them a little bit more, and they haven't done that consistently enough. It's the one thing you gravitate toward and say, this is why you don't want to give up on this team. When you have starting pitching like they've gotten, that's something that can be a key for you in the second half. But it's also been a lot of wasted efforts here in the first half, and that's probably what's made them one of the more frustrating teams in baseball to follow.
All right, let's talk about the one guy we'll be looking at on Tuesday night, and that'll obviously be Jason Kipnis, Indian second baseman, going to the All-Star game again. Really, if he starts off maybe just a little bit hotter, maybe he gets voted into this thing. I don't know. I think it's so skewed. I think it'd be hard for – it's been so long since we've seen an Indian starter. You know,
yeah, and with what happened in Kansas City, them kind of taking over the vote, that for a long time was the storyline. Thank goodness Infante doesn't actually end up making it into the game. Altuve, you can make a better case for being an all-star. But as far as what Kipnis has given you this year, there's nothing more I can ask. He has been everything you could have asked for and a heck of a lot more at the top of the lineup. He gets on base very consistently. He's using the whole field. He's driving the ball. And he's also playing the best second base of his career. And that's kind of gotten overlooked, but that's helped him really become one of the more valuable players in the American League so far this year.
All right, Terry Francona said yesterday, when you take a look at Carlos Santana, a guy who had 2 hits in yesterday's game, that I think Carlos had a pretty good week. If you look back, I think he hit .333 going into today's game over the last 7 games. But Tito said, look, we're going to go as Santana goes here. They need him to get hot. And they also need Nick Swisher to come back and contribute.
Well, that's one thing I don't know that you can count on, really. He's not been healthy all year, and to count on a guy like that, that's probably a bad place to be, even though you're paying him a lot of money. But for Santana, you've seen some positive signs, and I think for a while he was caught in the middle. He didn't want to walk. He didn't want to swing. He didn't know what he really wanted to do. This is a guy that consistently gets on base a ton. Even when he's struggling with the batting average, he's always getting on base via the walk. But I think there got to be a point where maybe he's forcing a little bit and wanted to be that guy to help drive in runs. And he got away from doing all the things that really makes him special. So for Carlos, it seems like over the last week, he's gotten back to being a guy that just drives the ball and gets on base. And if he's able to get on base at a .350 clip or better and drive the ball out of the ballpark 20 to 25 times, you're probably going to live with that and be pretty happy with it.
All right, TJ, let's talk about the 2 young guys that have come up on the left side of the infield. And I think they sparked a little bit of momentum. And I look at Francisco Lindor and I say, please keep this attitude as you keep playing through the game. I love his attitude towards the game. I love his approach every time. Kid makes a mistake, he hops right back out there, makes spectacular plays. Really looking forward to him. And Gio Urshela has been really fun to watch too.
Yeah, and we talked so much about the defense really being a negative with this team early on, and it was. And these two guys have come up, and you see here with the play he made diving into the seats, that was incredible. Both of those guys have shown some enthusiasm, I think has rubbed off on the club, but also has got this club playing probably its best defense of the year. And over the last 2-3 weeks, we've seen a little bit of a transformation defensively. A team that is never going to be on the upper echelon. And I don't think you even really need to expect that when you have a starting pitching staff that has the type of strikeout potential that they have. They're not putting the ball in play a lot, so maybe the defense doesn't matter as much. But when you have guys like that on the left side of the infield that are making the job that much easier on the pitchers, the offense and getting them some runs is certainly a way to help them, but also being able to help them defensively, as we saw today. How about the play that David Murphy made, diving or jumping up into the stands to try to rob a home run, or Urshela there in the first inning too? That certainly helps.
Where is this team right now? And I'm saying mentally. Is this a good time for a break? Because they were playing pretty well until the last 24 hours where you lose 2 games. But today they went up against a tough pitcher. So I'm not going to get too upset about what happened to today.
I thought today was a case where you probably tip your cap to Sonny Gray, because this is one of the best pitchers in the American League. The problem is it's a continued trend here for the offense where they can't consistently come through. And as we saw that today with Corey Kluber, it probably is, though, a good time for a break. Everybody needs that 4-day stretch. For Kipnis, it's a little bit shorter. But that nice little ability to hit the reset button. Even we saw that last year when Santana was down. He had the concussion. He was down. He was struggling offensively. He got that break, and then it seemed to be that reset button that he needed to hit. So he was able to come back. And you hope that maybe through some rest and a few days off is maybe something that can help spark this team for the second half.
TJ, outstanding stuff. We'll listen for you on 92.3thefan.com, and we'll read you. We'll read you on 92.3thefan.com.
That's a good idea.
We'll listen for you on 92.3 The Fan. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Still more to come on the Ford Sports Sunday. It's been a wild offseason for the Cavaliers. We're going to break it down with Sam Amico. Amico knows basketball. We'll find out more next.